Hey guys, welcome back to Homestead Prepping and Survival. Today I want to talk about something a little bit different. Your prepping group, okay? So what I mean by that, very simply, I made myself some notes this time. I normally don't, but this is a huge area that most people do not put enough emphasis on and planning into to be successful. So I'm going off of my memory. I didn't pull out my books and my notes and all of that stuff. I just wrote this down so that I knew that I'd at least talk about the main things. I'm sure there are a few things that I've forgotten, but off the top of my head, this is what I've got. So my question to you is, what will it take after crap hits the fan to survive or thrive? So every person in your group will have a job. And those of you that are out there thinking, okay, I'm a lone wolf, I'm going to bug out into the woods, I'm going to survive just fine, I got news for you. Davy Crockett can't do it. I mean, this is a whole different world that we're in now than what those people lived in back when the Indians were still in tribes and we were new to the country. I'm just telling you, one man show can't do it. You can't do it all. So I'm going to try to keep this at my 10 to 12 minute limit. So I'm going to go through pretty quick, and hopefully I can get it all done on this one video. But everybody's going to have a job or two. The way my system is set up, everybody has at least two jobs. And I mean jobs as in things that have to be done in order for the group to thrive. So my first question is, how many people are in your group? And if your answer is less than 2 or 3, 4, 5, 10, you're not prepared. Sorry, somebody texted me while I was in the middle of doing this video. You just don't have enough people. You can get by for a short while with 9 people if you're prepped good to begin with, while you're waiting on the rest of your group to come. As far as thinking 9 people's enough, I'm fixing to show you that's not going to work. So the notes that I've made, so this is a list of some of the jobs that have to be done. And these things were covered back in the old days when they had wagons and horses and all of that. Most of the time we take these jobs for granted nowadays. So what I'm getting at is gardening. Okay, sure, you can plant a garden and put some food up every year and put some in the freezer and can and all of those things, but are you growing enough to feed you and your family without having to buy anything from a grocery store? Very, very, very few people do that. And it's just not realistic unless you plan for it. You can't do it by yourself. So it's going to take a lot of gardening and space for gardening in order to supply enough food so that your people in your group can thrive. What about livestock? I've got chickens. I've got plans for other animals down the road. I'm just not ready to do that. I am still by myself, so it makes it a little bit more difficult. But I do keep enough chickens to where I can hatch more and grow that flock. And chickens are fairly quick to grow as far as adding numbers to the flock. So you've got to have things stored to where you can get by at least for 3 or 4 months while you hatch more, raise them, and have enough to where you can butcher some for meat. So you're looking at 6 months roughly before, or should I say, from the time that chicken's hatched until the time that chicken starts laying eggs. Chickens don't lay eggs their whole life. Hens typically in about 3 years are going to stop laying eggs. So you've got to have enough to rotate out and keep your flock large enough to where you've got egg production because you need eggs. That's a protein source. You do a lot of cooking with it. And then you also need enough to where you can butcher those chickens so you've got meat in the freezer. And I don't want to hear this, I'm going to go shoot a deer. Let me tell you something. You overhunt deer and they're going to take off and go deeper and deeper and deeper into the woods. And yeah, you're going to get lucky for a while. You're going to get some. But nobody can expect it for an entire group of people to survive off just shooting and fishing to feed their people. It's unrealistic. And honestly, if that's what your plan is, it's a very poor plan. People are going to starve to death. So think about that. Gardening and livestock. And then what about firewood? If you do not have a way to cook without propane or without electricity, you've got to have firewood just for the simple fact that you need to be able to cook. And how are you going to cut that down? You're going to go back to Davy Crockett with an axe and go chop down a tree and cut it up and burn it? And the calories and the amount of energy and muscle it takes to do that nowadays, 95% of people aren't able to do that. Not and be able to survive and do other things. Being realistic. So what about potable water? Potable water, what I mean by that is water that is safe for you to consume. Now you can take creek water, river water, pond water, whatever, and boil it and filter it and all of those things. But that's, again, adding more tasks to your daily list of things to do. So think about that. Good, clean water. And then how about scavenging and resource hunting? That's going to happen. People are going to need things that they ran out of or they didn't plan well enough for. Someone's got to do that. And one person, you need to send teams out. So food preservation. All that food you're growing and that livestock you're raising and butchering, somebody's got to be able to smoke that meat, cure that meat, can that meat. Vegetables, the same thing. You've got to have a way to save that food to eat when you can't grow during the winter months and so on. So, who's going to be doing the cooking? You know, my group is fairly large compared to what most people I've talked to talk about. And somebody's got to cook meals for all those people several times a day. So, cooking, feeding everyone, that's a big task. Who's going to do that? Then inventory management. And what I mean by that is for food, basic supplies, ammunition for security, period. It's going to be needed. Somebody has to keep track of what you have and what you're consuming, how long it's going to last, so that you can control how much of these things are being used up and how quickly they're being used up before you can replenish that supply. So, equipment maintenance. You know, I've got a 1953 Harry Ferguson tractor. And right now I've actually got to have some work done to it. But that thing will be running long after I'm gone. It's older than me. And, you know, somebody's got to maintain this equipment to keep it going so that you've got something to depend on. Solar panels. So, you know, I've got solar here at the homestead. And I'm going to tell you, it's a huge undertaking to be able to produce enough power to live like you live now. And I am very frugal as far as that goes. But solar power is one way that you're going to be able to have some electricity when a lot of people don't. Wind turbines and so on. There are other options, propane generators, gas generators, you know, pedal a bicycle, turn an alternator. It doesn't matter. There's other ways to get power, but by far the easiest once it's set up is solar and wind. So I'm looking at 9-minute mark. So and then repairs on that equipment also when it tears and breaks down. Things break. You're going to have somebody that knows how to do that stuff. Communication. I was planning on doing a video hopefully pretty soon on how to protect things from an EMP. And one of those that I was planning on using in video is a radio. How to protect that thing so that if it was an EMP that happened, how can you make sure your equipment's going to survive so that you can still have communication? If you've got people out there pulling security You need to be able to know as soon as they know there's a threat coming. Or if you've got people out there scavenging and hunting for resources and they get in trouble, you need to know that so you can send reinforcements and send help. Plain and simple. The old can on the string is not going to work. You need to plan for it. So that brings up security 24/7. If you do it in 8-hour shifts, one person for 8 hours, and then another for 8 hours, and another for 8 hours, that's 3 people. One person is not going to protect your place. It's not going to protect my homestead. My security plan includes at least 9 people a day. That's 3 on each shift of 8 hours each. So 9 people. And if you work those 9 people 7 days a week, 24/7, you're going to burn them out. And that's when the most of the mistakes and things happen. So, think about that. You need at least 18 people on security. On top of all the other jobs, medical, livestock, firewood, food and water, all of those things we talked about. So, and then when those 9 are off, that's where the other 9 comes in. You can't work them to death. So you've got to plan for that. Plus they need time to do their laundry. They need time to take care of their family and their kids and their spouses. So all of those things have to come into play. So no one can do a 24/7 forever. I don't care who you are. When people get burned out, mistakes are going to happen a lot more often. And one thing about being a prepper is you need to prepare for that and try to avoid it at all costs. So 40-hour work weeks plus 4 hours a day to help the community. And what I mean by that is you may be gardening for 4 more hours after you've done your 8 hours of security. You may be helping with the livestock. You may be hunting. You may be fishing. You may be doing laundry. You may be doing a lot of things that's going to help the community as a whole for that other 4 hours. And that leaves you 12 hours left in a day, 8 hours of it for sleeping. Some people say, I don't sleep that much. But either way, 8 hours for sleeping, 4 hours for family time. If you're not going to enjoy your family, why are you even trying to survive? It's all about family for me. My grandchildren, my granddaughters, my grandsons, my daughters, my son, my in-laws, all of them. I do this for them, not for me. And I'm going to do my doggone best to make sure that my kids and my grandchildren survive, whether I do or not. That's why I prep. So, old saying is, many hands make light work. You need to think about how many people's in your group. How are you going to feed them? How are you going to house them? All of those things. You can't do it all. So please, put some thought into it. What all would have to be done if you literally had to be prepared tomorrow for no electricity for the next 10 years? I can tell you, it is a strong possibility that's going to happen. It's not a matter of if, it's when. So anyway, not trying to preach at anybody. I just wanted to throw some ideas out there, some information, and try to get your gears going to where you understand why I prep and what needs to be done as far as prepping. Okay? There's a lot of things I'm sure I missed, but this video is already running long. I'm approaching that 14-minute mark. So guys, if you enjoyed the video, if you learned something and you like it, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with everyone that you can. A lot of people don't talk about prepping. So don't share it with the people you think would be interested. Share it with everybody, because there's a lot of people out there that are prepping that aren't telling other people they're prepping. But you need to build that community. You need to build that group. And you got to think of all those things. What's it going to take for these people and myself to survive? So just remember 2 more things, guys. Jesus loves you, and so do I. Be safe.